like super Saturday?
Wonderful.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Great.
Good.
No
good.
complaints.
Awesome.
Good. Oh, hi. We've even got little readers. Peace. Welcome. I'm letting folks in as we go, but we're super happy. We've got a couple minutes. I love you guys are always so punctual and more on time. But awesome. Well, good morning to everyone. Oh, Rashida, I see you in your beautiful scarves there. You look amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's so many people here. I just love it. We're all kind of coming in. But good morning to everyone. Peace. We're really excited to have you here. I think I lost you on the screen as everyone's sort of filtering in, but I'm going to see if I can pin you there so that we can see you prominently. There, Peace. Hi. Good morning.
Hello.
Hi.
Well, it is so good to see you. We've still got a couple more people flowing in a little bit, so we'll just sort of shoot the breeze and have a chat. So you're dialing in from where? Are you in Ghana?
No, I'm in Bristol in the UK.
Oh, you're in the UK. Okay, that must be really interesting. How is lockdown going?
We've been doing this for such a long time that now it seems normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm quite used to lockdown now.
Yeah, me too. I feel like, well, I will say I'm in Atlanta and it's a little bit different here in that we're a bit of a wide open state. Our government is just like, do your thing. So our restaurants, everything are open. We've never really shut down. So it's a lot of choice. And in my household, we're on lockdown. Like we don't go out so much, but you know, it's our new life, and this is, you know, wonderful things that come out of it, like this book club. And it's been really great for so many of us to be able to connect here, read great books, and it culminates in this amazing Zoom party where we get to be face to face and chatting to you and hearing about your story and just the inside nuances of writing this incredible book that we have spent the past couple of weeks reading, and just it has been such a treat for us. So we are so delighted to have you here, and we welcome you.
Thank you. I am so excited to be joining you. I have been seeing the activities on Instagram. I get tagged in what people are saying. So I mean, I've just enjoyed it from afar, and I'm just so excited that you all are you've invited me today to chat with you. Thank you.
No, it's honestly, it's an honor and a pleasure for us. And I think we're at 12 now. I'm still letting folks in. We're at about 70 now. So they'll sort of start popping in, I guess. You know, it's Saturdays, people have their kids at home. I've had people message me saying they're going to join us from a car or a broom closet or wherever they can get a little bit of peace and ability to tune in. So they'll all start joining in. Okay, well, I just want to start off and just welcome everybody. Welcome to another Tanya Time Book Club Zoom party. This is my favorite part of book club because we actually get to turn on our cameras, see each other's faces, and especially as we've been talking about how crazy and unprecedented times that we are in, you know, it's nice to have some extra added connection, even if it is through a virtual screen like this. So just a little bit about our book club for those of you who have not joined before. We are a virtual book club that was born out of the pandemic. I created this book club because I was reading books at home alone and I just was dying to sort of talk to other people about it. And so I just went online and was like, anybody want to read this book? And we've just grown into this really wonderful place, a wonderful community of people that just want to talk about fun books, both on Instagram and here on Zoom. So basically now we've taken it off of Instagram where I get to just sort of talk to you guys and we get to meet with you here. And the one thing that I love about our book club, and I encourage you guys that are all joining, is I want people to be able to interact with you as well, Peace. A lot of times you'll see different platforms where it's just a one-on-one, and I feel like I've talked all month long. So I really encourage you guys, whether you turn your video on or not, you can raise your hand and ask a question, ask some of the questions of Peace about the book, the plots, and the story, and just have a great time. We go for about an hour, and then afterwards, Peace, you're welcome to continue on with your beautiful day in Bristol, but we'll be here and we'll spend about another hour talking about other books that we're reading or just shooting the breeze, and it's a great time for all of us. Yeah. So with that said, Peace, I would love to start off, and I just want to read a quick bio about you, just so that people know. So His Only Wife is actually Peace's first book, but you have been a scholar and just an all-around brilliant mind for many, many years. She's a senior lecturer in gender and international politics at the University of Bristol. Her research addresses everything from gender, politics, and conflict in Africa and the diaspora. Her book, Global Norms and Local Action, The Campaigns to End Violence Against Women in Africa, was published in March 2020 by the Oxford Press. So congratulations, Peace. You are just pumping out these incredible publications. And this was actually her debut novel that was launched in September 2020 by Algonquin Books, and was also selected as one of Reese Witherspoon's book clubs as well. You have studied many, many things and have been supported through grants in terms of African affairs and international studies and reviews, politics and gender. And now you have granted us and blessed us with this incredible novel, His Only Wife. And I'd like to hand it to you to see if in the author's words, you could give us just some insight on why you ventured from scholarly writing to this incredible work here. And also perhaps a little summary, so two things, of your views on what His Only Wife is about.
Well, thank you for the introduction. And like I said, again, I'm really happy to be chatting with you. This is like my first conversation about a book this year. So it's nice to be getting back to this. I think, so I'll answer your second question first. What is the book about? I mean, I think, and I'm sure everyone here has read the book. It's a story about Afi, a young woman finds herself in this arranged marriage. And for me, I think it's about two things. One thing is we get to see whether or not Afi has been given this very difficult task to win Ellie over for his family or to win him back. So on one level, the book is about this journey of her trying to win back this adult man, and to see whether she succeeds. But another level, which I think it's much deeper, is about her development.
Yes.
And how she gets to a stage where she's able to say, this is what I want out of my life, and to be able to speak this. Yeah. So I think that's in a nutshell what the book is about. And so the other question was, why did I move from scholarly work to writing fiction? Interestingly, I started writing fiction long before I began my scholarly work. So years and years ago in Ghana, when I was about 10. So I was a very voracious reader as a child. I read everything. And I grew up in Ho, partly in Ho, and Ho is featured in the book.
Yes.
So I grew up in Ho, and we had like one public library, and would rush to the library after school, and you had just a handful of books. I'm sure they were donated by someone, I don't know who. And we'd be there in line and struggling to get books. So I just read everything. And when I finally couldn't wait any longer for new books, I started writing my own books. So it is through this writing for myself that I began writing fiction. And I just enjoyed it so much that even now that I have hundreds of books on my Kindle, right, I still continue to write for myself. And it's something that I enjoy.
I love that. I love that. So, we thoroughly enjoyed this book, and I'll start at the beginning because I feel like you really started with a bang. You started with this woman who was in this arranged marriage, and her husband doesn't show up. So even the beginning characters, I married Eli in absentia. And I love this because it was incredibly strong. And you were like, how is this even possible? But at the same time, it speaks a lot to, this theme that you address throughout the book about women's rights, the contrast to the power struggle that men and women have in Ghana as well. And throughout the world. I won't even limit this to Ghana because I think sometimes we had the discussion as to whether or not are arranged marriages even standard or typical in Ghana. So can you sort of talk about how you came up with this young character of Afi and how she was plummeted into this situation, you know, and the power struggles that you really wanted to address in this book?
Yeah, so I always knew that I wanted to write about a young woman who was going through a difficult time around issues of marriage. Uh, and and I think it's partly because I'm just very critical about how much pressure is put on young women to get married,
Mhm.
but also to stay married even when the marriages are just miserable and are not working. So I knew I wanted to write something like this, but I didn't initially like settle on Afi. I went through several iterations of the character. In
Mhm.
fact, when I began writing this book, I was in Boston, and I was at Boston College for a year because I had a fellowship, and I was writing my PhD dissertation, but I also just spent a lot of time just thinking about the character. And I think Afi started off as like, I think a PhD student. Yeah, and then, so that's how my writing tends to go. Like I start thinking about things and characters evolve. But when I finally began writing seriously in 2013, she had evolved from like a PhD student to this young woman who is a seamstress. But I just really wanted to explore issues around marriage and the pressure that we place on women. And it's not only in Ghana, I would say it's a global thing. And these expectations about marriage, but also the value that is placed on marriage. And I think in Ghana, but also in many places, there's this, I guess, attitude that a woman is not complete
Yep.
until she's married, that a woman is not like an adult woman until she's married. And I just really wanted to kind of poke holes into these ideas and narratives that are out there.
I mean, that's really fascinating because I would never have guessed that Afi had started in your mind as a PhD student, because I mean, it's interesting when you say evolved, it's almost like you broke her down to a more simplistic version, because, you know, when we learned of Afi, she was from small town Ho. She, you know, kind of failed her school, but she knew she had these big dreams of being a seamstress. But a PhD to Afi is very interesting. But I also think I appreciate that more because, you know, if you look at who Afi was and her character arc through the story, her growth was what I think really drew us to her. She went from this quiet, very timid, you know, when she met the Gagnots and Eli, to being like, yes, yes, boss, yes, yes. Oh. You know, she could barely look him in the eyes. And by the end of this book, I mean, she was to big money families, auntie, everybody, and she was not in any way going to settle. And I just think that is really incredible.
Yeah, and I think it's very realistic. And I mean, if you think about a lot of women in just our daily lives, women are constantly fighting these battles. A lot of them are very small battles, and we don't recognize them. But sometimes it's just like saying, no, I don't want to do this, or saying, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to stand my ground. So, and as a scholar, I tend to focus on women who do great things. I'm currently doing research on women chiefs and women traditional leaders. And throughout history in Africa, we've had, you know, amazing women leaders who have fought wars, who have governed people. And I'm really interested in these very great women. But I'm also just interested in just regular, normal, everyday people who are just out there living their lives, and, you know, small victories and small decisions, but still important ones.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got one last question and we'll open it up and we'll kind of go back and forth, everyone. There's a part in this book, and I think it just contrasts as we're talking about women. And I think you did an incredible job because you made many of the women in here, and we will dive into Evelyn and Muna, some of our favorite characters, like very powerful. Auntie Gagno was this businesswoman. Evelyn, you know, from making a business of just making cement blocks, like they had power, they had some money, but it was contrasted with, you know, this idea of the men that we should please, the men that we should acquiesce to. And there was one line, I was rereading it the other day again, and it's when Afi and Eli, he actually takes her to a hotel and they sit outside and she's eavesdropping on the men's conversation when they're kind of joking, ha ha ha, how are your two wives? How's that going? It must be a headache. But at the end of the day, the men said, you are a lion and you deserve to have an entire pride. And this struck me, I just saw it again when I read it, and I was just like, this narrative of what men deserve versus, you know, you writing about Aphie, when many people said to Aphie, don't you remember who you are? You're this small girl from Ho. You should just be happy with whatever this man is giving you, because now look at this life. And that to me, like, and I'm sure I'd just like to know your opinion from, you know, a scholarly perspective of what you've read in this, like this dichotomy of male and gender roles, but being able to succinctly wrap it up in a fiction book, I think is really interesting to all of us.
Yeah, I mean, writing women that were powerful in their own ways, for me, that's just really realistic and normal. Because I have throughout my life growing up, and I don't want to say that, you know, every Ghanaian woman is out there and is like, I don't know, some warrior or is just out there doing amazing things. I mean, we're just mostly regular people. But at the same time, all of the women, or almost all of the women that I encountered growing up, were just really hardworking. Like my grandmother baked bread. And I remember for years, I'd wake up at like 4 a.m. and she'd be baking bread. And for that reason, for a long time, I didn't like the smell of fresh bread. Because I'll wake up every single day to the smell of fresh bread. And it will actually make me I almost feel sick. That's how much I hated the smell of bread. But anyway, I was surrounded by hardworking women. My grandmother baked bread and she was a farmer. So she would wake up from like 3 a.m, she's breaking bread. And by like 7, she's done. And then she walks to her farm. So those were the kind of people that I saw growing up. And so, of course, when I wrote, I would write about women who were industrious, women who were hardworking. And you're right, to contrast this to men and the notion that despite being so hardworking, despite carrying entire families on their backs, they are supposed to subjugate themselves to men. And for me, I think there's this interesting conversation that can be had about masculinity. And once again, it's not only about Ghana, it's everywhere. I mean, look at what's happening in the US now. You can trace a lot of that to ideas about masculinity, right? And this idea that to be a man is to have lots of money and to surround yourself with women. and that's what, and for a lot of people, that's what it means to be a man. And I think it's very problematic in many ways. I remember teaching, so I taught at the University of Ghana for many years. And I would ask my students, undergrads, I would ask them about, you know, do you think men are equal to women? And some of them, thankfully, not all of them, some of the young men will say, no, you know, it's not possible. Even in the Bible, it says men are superior to women. And I would say, who's paying your tuition? How many of you here have your tuition being paid by your mothers? And these kids would all raise their hand. And I would think, well, how in the world is it that your mother is paying your tuition to come to the university, but you're looking at me and telling me that the Bible says men are superior to women? And I mean, these are all of the things that kind of were playing in my mind when I crafted this story.
Oh my gosh. I mean, good for you for challenging them, because I think half of it is, you know, and this is why I think even works of fiction are so important. Like, they're just not challenged. So they're like, well, the Bible said, and so, you know, but what a great contrast of like, how many of your mothers are the ones who are working, whether they're washing laundry or they're like Auntie Ganyo and they're, you know, a big town businesswoman. They are the ones who are really providing for you and making things move. So I'm going to open it up, you guys, and we can sort of go back. I've got many more questions if you guys run out, but does anyone have a question that they want to ask? I'd like to stick a little bit to Aphie and maybe Eli in that relationship, but we can dive wherever you want to go.
Hello. How's everyone? Good morning. I'm in LA. It's 9 a.m. here.
Thank you for getting up, you guys.
I know. Whew. No, I'm kidding. I wanted to start off with a question. I wanted you to like speak more onto I guess the normalcy with having a wedding, but having the husband not there. I've never heard of that, and I kind of didn't understand that. So I was wondering if you could speak more on that.
Mhm. Well, thank you. Thanks for that question. So having a wedding and the husband not being there is actually quite, I wouldn't say it's normal, but it happens quite a bit in Ghana. And it tends to happen when you have a man who lives outside of Ghana and for some reason he can't attend. And if the woman is in Ghana, there might be a stand-in. But interestingly, there are also times where both the woman and the man are not in Ghana, right? So maybe they both live in America, in the States, and maybe it's too expensive to travel back to Ghana to have a wedding. So both of them will have stand-ins at the wedding for, representing both the woman and the man. So it's not, I mean, it doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. I think what is unusual, and this is what happens in the book, is a man not coming to his wedding because he's away on business. Yeah, so that is unusual. So someone not coming to their wedding because they are too sick to travel, or, maybe they have like I don't know, visa problems. So they can't afford to leave the US and come to Ghana because it might be difficult to return. For reasons like that, people might stay away, but not for business. So that's what makes this more unusual.
Someone in the comment was like, why not rearrange another date? And that's what I was wondering. I'm like, why do we have to have stand-ins?
Why are you talking specifically about the book or about just in general?
The book, I think.
Well, I mean, and I think the way I started the book, I wanted the reader to know that something was up. Because you're right, if a man is excited to get married, and there are no barriers, he will show up. So if Ellie really wanted to be at that wedding, he would have said, let's do it on a different date because I can't be here at this date. So the fact that the man doesn't show up to the wedding in itself is a glaring sign. And I wanted this to be clear I didn't want the reader to be surprised. I wanted the reader to know from the beginning that this is going to be a very rocky marriage. So just get ready for that.
Great question. Okay, so
I have a question. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I just have one question.
Okay.
So do you think, and I love the alternate universe type things, that at any point Ellie would have, my question is more, were Ellie and Muna married?
No, they were not.
Okay. All right.
They were not.
Do you think if Ellie had to choose, he had to, for whatever reason, he was being held to the fire, would he ever, I mean, he obviously made his choice in Muna, correct? Okay.
Yes. I mean, writing a book for me throughout, I felt like she was the one that he loved more, and he just was not willing to give her up. And he married Afi to please his mother. But I think Mona was his real love.
Yeah. Okay, who did I interrupt?
It was me. Hi, everyone. I'm from Jersey. Basically, I'm from West Africa, but I grew up here from Gambia. And like your story, it kind of connected with me because I see this go around in my country. Like you guys are saying engagement, like weddings, you're not being. My traditional wedding, I was there, but my husband wasn't because he couldn't fly out. So the book kind of like it went like I was so connected to the book because everything I was reading, I'm like, oh my God, this happened to this person I know. This happened to this person I know. And I feel like if Eli would have told Effie from day one, like, okay, I'm gonna marry you, but this lady is still gonna be there, maybe she might have chose not to. Because for me, it's kind of usual, like having two wives and everything, but the lady, you can't like live a double life because he was living a double life. But I feel like if he would have told her from day one, this is my wife and you're gonna be the co-wife. Do you want it or not? Because you do have the opinion to say yes or no. And if you say no, she could move on. But he had a whole double life. I was shocked when I saw at the ending that he was still with her. And I'm like, oh my God. But this is so common. I see it around is something like, I was like, wow. And me and my cousins and everyone, I'm like, read this book. It's about this. And we're all interacting because most of us had arranged marriages. And it's not horrible because like before and now it's kind of different. The arranged marriages, you talk with the person. If you don't want them, you're like, no, I'm not interested. You know, so it was, I really loved your book. I've been reading books forever, but I never read something that sent me back home. So I want to thank you for that.
Well, thank you. I mean, that's I'm really happy to hear that. And I mean, two things. I very much agree that Afi went into this wedding, first of all, or into this marriage, thinking that Ellie did not love this other woman based on what his family had told her. I mean, they made it seem like he was only there because the woman was forcing him and using their child to keep him in the relationship. So she basically entered the marriage under false pretenses. You're very right. She was misled into this marriage, and maybe her decision would have been different if she had been told the truth from the beginning. But also your point about connecting, something that very interesting I've noticed over the last, I guess, week or so is, so the book was finally released in Ghana, which I'm really excited about.
Oh, wow.
But what I found really interesting, so when I've spoken to audiences in the US, they're like, this is so bizarre. This is so unusual. My goodness.
Yes.
And people in Ghana are like, oh my gosh, this, like, it happened to someone I know. And I've heard someone say, I feel it's like my neighbor. And it's just the contrast between people who are like, this is the strangest book I've read, and people are like, oh my goodness, this makes sense. It's just, I'm just loving this, the experience of people's very different reactions.
Yeah, I loved it. I'm like, we need to have more books that kind of set us back home, because we're reading these books. Most of them are just like a dream, but this is like reality. It's like, this is true. This happens to so many people. And I loved it.
Thank you.
And I will say, I think for me, just because my dad is from Ghana, he was born there. And, you know, I grew up going back and forth. It was such a delight because you incorporated so much of the culture, just very seamlessly, you know, mentioning the markets, mentioning pouring libations, and so it was such a treat for us, because I feel like, especially we're a lot of Black women here, we're a diverse crowd, but, you know, we read a lot of American-based African-American stories. So this was just a great cultural exchange for us, and we really, really appreciated it. We had a lot of fun. We certainly did.
So I had a question, if I could.
Yeah, hi, Natalie.
Hi. So we loved the book, and we had a lot of conversation about Afi's strength and her character, and we questioned a lot some of her decisions and so on. So I'm curious to know if, from your perspective as the writer, was your intention that while Afi was waiting for him to come and visit her in the room, was she, you know, buying into the fairy tale potentially and feeling woe be gone? Or was this now a challenge for her? Was she saying, no, I've been put here to do a mission. I want to accomplish my mission, and he is not letting me be successful. What was the perspective that you intended?
A great question. And I think Afi only begins to buy into the fairy tale once, you know, Ellie moves in and they have this intimate relationship, and she begins to think that this is real, and there's more here. But from the beginning, it's not even a challenge, it's almost an obligation. She feels that she owes it to her mother, she owes it to auntie, she owes it to her entire family to do this. So she's doing this more out of obligation in the beginning, until, you know, they become intimate and they get to know each other, and she actually falls for him. So I think that's the progression of the relationship.
Great question.
I have a question.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Was it your intention to give Afi a voice in terms of being strong and not having physical and economic difficulties as a result of her decision?
Did I want her to? I'm sorry. The end of the question was I didn't get the end of the question.
What I'm getting at. So what I'm basically asking you, was it your intent to give other women the power, like to give Afi a voice so that she could express herself and also not have the physical and economic consequences in the story, like I've noticed in the storyline that what I liked about your story, there wasn't any physical or economic consequences for her acting out, or like there was funny scenes where she was like yelling at Ellie, or she was like telling people like, I'm not going for this, like I'm, you know, I understand this is my culture, but this is not right. I'm waiting on a man for weeks who I can't see, who I can't connect with. And I like the fact in the book that you didn't give it a physical component, because I thought he was going to slap her at one point, or he was just going to like snap out. And then also when it came to her understanding that he still had a relationship with Muna, he didn't like cut her off financially. And a lot of times when people are in situations like this, they tend to feel like they're going to lose everything. So I like the fact that, you know, how you display that in the book.
Yes, no, I mean, I'm really glad you caught that. So my other book, and Tanya mentioned, my other book is on violence against women. And I have been studying violence against women from, gosh, I know 2007 when I started my PhD, and I have done field work, I've done research, I've spoken to women who have been abused. So by the time I began writing this book, I was like, I can't talk about violence anymore. All I do is talk about violence. I write about violence. I think about violence. This is too much. And it was actually beginning to like take a mental toll, an emotional toll on me. So when I began writing the book, I had only one rule: there could be no physical violence. So this was a rule that I put in place before I started writing the book. So that is, I mean, if I didn't have this rule, maybe things might have been different, but this was just for like my own mental well-being. And I said, I just want this to be a book. I want it to be a book about Black joy. And even though there will be trauma, there will be difficulties, I didn't want the suffering to overwhelm the story. Because I was in the place where I was just constantly talking about suffering, and I just didn't want to write about it in my fiction. So yes, so I think that is why you are very right, that one would expect maybe some physical violence in these kinds of relationships, but it didn't happen. But Afi does suffer financially, I think, because with this, once she divorces Ellie, yes, he's still continuing to support her, but she can't really live in the style that she did live in when she was married to him. The fancy house with the swimming pool and all of that, and the servants. She doesn't have all of that. I mean, she's not poor by any means, but she's still not living in that level of luxury once she leaves him.
Right.
Great question.
I have a question.
All right.
Okay.
Hi, Kiki. Go ahead.
Hi. Hi, everyone. It's so nice to meet you, Peace. And so my name is Ifua, and I'm from Ghana. Left there when I was 3. And I live in Canada. So I've been here for most of my life. But I've, of course, through family, have experienced all the culture. And the culture was so rich, I found in your book. And I loved that. But I felt that at the end of the book, and it was a great book. The page turner, couldn't put it down. But at the end, I felt like I was hanging. I wanted more. And I'm wondering, especially about Effie and her future journey, will you consider maybe a sequel or something about if
Yes,
Effie,
great question.
and what happens to her, and and what happens to Antigano, and does she finally
kick the bucket and
exactly?
Uncle Pius.
And Uncle Pius, exactly. So that's my question. I wonder. Thank you.
Well, thanks for the question, Kiki. Yeah, I don't know if there'll be a sequel. Well, funny enough, as soon as my father read the book, he texted me his idea for the plot for the sequel. So if we leave it to my father, there will be a sequel. But what I've spoken to so many people who are like, we want to know more. And that's a really good thing, the fact that people are so engaged in the book. So when I spoke, so the book has been optioned for a film/TV. We're still deciding. But when I spoke to the, I guess, filmmakers, the team, one of the things I said to them was, I think people want to know more. Right? People want to know what comes next. People want to know more about Muna. So even if there's no sequel, I really want, whether it's the TV series of the film, I really want it to go beyond the book. and to answer a lot of the questions that people have asked me about what happens next.
Okay, so we need a spoiler. I want to switch a little bit because there's some amazing characters that I want to talk about, as well as Evelyn and Muna. But the whole ending with Muna, I mean, it gives me goosebumps that the way it happened. So a couple like rapid fire questions. Did Evelyn know and orchestrate this entire photo shoot so that she would expose Evelyn and Eli?
No, so it's so interesting. Several people have asked me this, but she didn't know.
Okay.
Evelyn did not know that this was going on. It was purely coincidental.
Okay. That was big for us because I feel like, and I won't speak for the group, you guys can interrupt. We liked Evelyn, and I really thought that she was an asset, a genuine and authentic asset for Afi and her growth. You know, she told it to her, and she, I think, was really pivotal in helping Afi like move to where she needed to go. So we thought that if that was true, that, you know, that might tarnish Evelyn. So we're very happy about that. My second question is, I mean, Muna was built out to be literally a hairy breathing dragon throughout the whole story. And so we have a couple rapid fire questions. Number one was, I think this was Marcel Andre Cassie emailed me and asked, was Ivy really sick or was that part of the ruse?
Please.
Ivy was really sick.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, Ivy was really sick.
Okay. He had sickle cell.
He lied about everything else, so
we weren't sure. Now, if I just have a couple questions about Muna. I mean, this scene where you just saw this ethereally beautiful, poised, wonderful person. So Muna really was a lovely person. She wasn't this fire-breathing dragon.
Yes, and the only reason that we are told that she was this horrible person was because the family didn't like her. And why didn't they like her? Because she did not bend to their will, because she stood up for herself, and she didn't like the fact that they will show up in her house and just open her fridge and eat her food and do whatever they want. And so that's basically it. She did not bow down to aunties. So at the end of the day, she gets they paint this picture of her as a very horrible person. And I wrote the book in such a way that I wanted us to learn about Mona the same way that Afi learns about her, which is why, you know, she only comes in at the end, because I wanted us to be just as surprised as Afi was. But also about Evelyn, and I will admit this, Evelyn is my favorite character in the book. And I feel guilty when I say this because I feel like
we get it.
Evelyn is absolutely my favorite character, and she is just because she does not take any nonsense from anyone.
No.
She does what she wants, and she says what she wants, and she's just like, she's very confident, and I think I like her because secretly I want to be more like her. So I aspire to be more like Evelyn, and so for that reason I think that's why she's my favorite character.
I will go ahead,
say,
Alicia. Yep.
So I was wondering, did you use Evelyn as a catalyst to Effie finding her voice? Because Effie did have preconceived notions about Evelyn, like she was somewhat like, you know, that other woman, right? Figuratively, she was. But did you use her in a sense to boost Effie's confidence?
Yes. Evelyn was very important for Afi's growth. I think one of the things that she does in the book is show Afi that there are other ways of being a woman, of being in a relationship. Because before Evelyn, Afi had been fed this very traditional idea about what it means to be a wife. You're submissive, you do what you are told, you respect your husband, you sit and wait when he tells you to sit and wait. But Evelyn is the first woman that she encounters who doesn't do those things. And I think it's important. I mean, who knows? I don't know whether if she'd never met Evelyn, if she would have still been the same person. But I think that meeting Evelyn was really important in pushing her towards finding her voice.
I felt like also, did you intend for us to see that Effie did have, yes, it's good. My husband asked me a question. He's gonna go to work. But did you intend for us to get a glimpse of Effie already having a voice from the beginning? Because if you recall, her intentions were to go back to school. And as soon as Ellie mentioned, she got the opportunity to bring it up to him and he was backing her. She's like, oh, I'm gonna run with it. So I feel like Evelyn also fulfilled Effie's in that she got to examine, Effie got a chance to examine herself through Evelyn. At first she looked at her all in negative ways, but then again, after a while, she's like, she's actually caring. She's actually smart. She's actually knows what you want. She takes the lemon and make lemonade.
She certainly was a conduit for her growth.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm going to open up. Does anyone else want to jump in with another question on that?
I just wanted to make a comment. I just wanted to comment on the Evie part. Thank you, Peace, for being on this. Great to just be able to talk to an author and really just try to get into the back of the head. But I thought about foreshadowing just now when we brought up just the whole context of that character, Evelyn, because I don't think that Afi would have been able to really have that level of strength once she found out about Muna, had she not had kind of some of that egging on and some of the background details that she got from Evelyn. So Evelyn just really showed herself and I'm glad to find out that, our liking of her was for good and that she really didn't have any kind of nefarious, background.
Yeah.
Because I really liked her as a character. And the fact that she can stand up and do her thing. And she was really showing her, hey, you can do your thing too at the end. I mean, I don't have that in me sometimes. So I think we all want to have a little bit of Evelyn in us.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a great friend. I think everyone deserves a friend like Evelyn.
Yes.
I think she's a really good friend.
I have a
one more
question.
question.
Okay, we'll do Sunshine and then Tanya.
Okay. Oh, I just kind of wanted to comment as well, just with Evelyn. And I kind of was on the fence. I was very team Evelyn. And at our last, the IG live, people were on the fence. Was it intentional? But I had to go back and read those last 3 chapters and what I really liked. And I saw it throughout where Evelyn immediately said, she's like, well, I'll take the house. She's like, you put your title, your, the son's title on everything. And then I think when I read the second time, I was like, in my heart, I was like Evelyn was truly a friend because, she could have been like, okay, well, I'm not sure, but she went in there and she set her up because you're emotional. And Effie could have just been like, I can't handle it because obviously she was duped, but Evelyn was there, alongside her saying, make sure you do this and you have your name on everything because you are his wife. So that was just the kind of commentary that I wanted to add.
Yes.
Tanya.
I have one question.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry. Peace, I just wanted to, it's nice knowing you, nice meeting you. And my only question was, did you ever consider having Effie meet the daughter? Because Muna knew the baby, knew her son. I mean, that just like floored me. But when he went reaching out to her, was there ever a question, let Effie meet her daughter, meet Ivy?
So I did play with that. I toyed with that idea. And when Afi wants the girl to come to her son's first birthday party, there was a point where I thought, maybe she will come. But then when I thought about Muna and this picture I built about Muna in my head, I was like, there's no way Muna will allow her child to come to this birthday party, given the way that she feels about Afi and the way she feels about the entire Ganyo family. She's not going to allow her child to be at this party. So yes, I did think about it, but I felt like it would be out of character for Mona to agree to it.
Peace, that's a great question. And I just have, I feel like at the end, we felt like Muna was lovely. And a lot of that was wrapped up in this poise and beauty. But is there a possibility that Muna or Ellie has now married his mother and Muna, and she is like actually mean and totally controlling, and we maybe misjudged her?
No. So Mona, for me, when I think about Mona, she's very much like Evelyn, where she's like, this is what I want, and I would take none of your rubbish. And if you don't like it, get out of the way. Maybe she's a bit more abrupt and then maybe a bit more outspoken than Evelyn. But she's just a kind of woman who rubs people the wrong way, right? And that's a problem, because when men do that, like, people are like, that's normal. You speak your mind. But, a woman does it and, oh my goodness, she's terrible. Right. But I think maybe in my mind, Mona was very much like Evelyn, or maybe even more outspoken than Evelyn. But as you were asking your question, something that came to mind, I was like, I feel like we are letting Ellie off the hook in this entire conversation.
Good point.
So I would like to jump in here because I've been trying to ask this question for a while, and I would like to talk about family dynamics from Ellie's point of view, because I do think we are letting him off the hook. From Afi's point of view, I could understand, that Gagnon had been very good to her and her mom. She felt an obligation. But Ellie could have said no. Yeah. Ellie could have said, Muna is the love of my life. I'm not going to be part of this. He was financially independent, so that wasn't an issue. So I'd like you to speak a little bit to the family dynamics here, and why even the male feel that kind of obligation when they don't necessarily have to. Or was he just selfish? Did he want 2 wives? These are all of the things, and I've thought about it in many different ways, but I cannot get there with Ellie on why he let all of this happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, a great question. And in the beginning, Ellie doesn't want 2 wives. Like, he's shown Afi's picture, but he's happy with the one woman he has. But, I mean, it's very much a Ghanaian thing where you do what your parents say. You're like 60 years old, but you still do what your parents say. And especially if you were raised only by your mother, right? Your mother is the only person. It's really hard for people to go against their parents, especially like the only parent who has done everything for you. And keep in mind that Auntie has a lot of backers in the family. All of the siblings, the old uncles, everyone is standing with Auntie on this. So it's Ellie against his entire family. And in our society where respect is a big deal in Ghana, respect for elders. And I see all the time that respect is so incredible. It's so important. We need respect. But I feel like respect that asks people to just sacrifice so much of themselves to please others, that's not even respect at this point. So for Ellie, it was just really difficult standing up to his mother for these reasons due to the culture and all of the pressure. But I still feel like he could have done it. He could have done it. He would have suffered for it, for sure. His mother would probably have stopped speaking to him for a while. He would have definitely suffered for it. But he could have done it and he just wasn't willing to. And then when the relationship starts, he actually likes having 2 women.
Yeah.
He likes both of these women. So now it's not only about pleasing his mother, but he has 2 gorgeous women. And, it's really great for his ego. He has the fast cars, he has the beautiful houses, he has a beautiful woman. That in his mind, that just really makes him a man, and a man that stands out. And that goes back to my earlier point about masculinity and what we tell boys that they should aspire to be and what will make them good men or men that are respected.
Mm-hmm.
Did Mona ever know exactly how involved he became with Afi?
No, I mean, he was lying to both of them the entire time. Plain bold. I think he's also a bit of a coward.
He is a coward.
Yeah, who can like just say this is, I mean, he could have told Afi, I'm with this. And if you, I think if you remember, he never tells Afi that I'm like, he keeps suggesting that he's going to leave Mona, right? He keeps hinting and he keeps saying, just give it some more time. I feel like a proper man would have said, I don't intend to leave this woman. Can you live with this? And if you can't live with this, maybe we shouldn't go further in this relationship. But he was very much a coward, a handsome coward, but still a coward.
Another question, was he not going to see Effie when Luna was out of town? Because didn't Ellie's brother tell Effie that he was out of town? You know, like
he was lying the whole time. He did whatever he could to like cover his tracks and lie.
He really spent more time with Effie, but mainly when Luna was traveling the world.
For sure.
Yeah.
I will jump in. Tyler, San Irving, and then Eartha. You guys can ask your questions. Hello, Tyler.
Hi. Thank you again for doing this. I always say that. But my question is about, I was a little bit confused as to whether Muna and Evelyn knew each other. Like, I was kind of like, I know that the main character did not like pry, like she would listen, but like, why didn't did they not know each other? Because why didn't she like dispel some of the rumors about Muna? Like, why didn't Evelyn do that? Or were they not like close at all?
Well, yeah. So in the book, Evelyn mentions that she's met Muna a couple of times. And I think that she's even been to the house once. And Evelyn does try to tell Afi that Mona is not what the family says she is, because when I've met her, she's been nice. So Evelyn does try, but I think at the same time, Evelyn is also cautious in that she doesn't want to be someone who is interfering in other people's marriages.
Yeah.
Right. So there are times when Afi asks her, do you think my husband is terrible? And she says, well, he's your husband. Can you not see? You don't need me to tell you that. So Evelyn does, I think she tries, but she's also wary about being seen as someone who is trying to destroy someone's marriage. Because also she is a woman who is much older than Afi, but she's not married. And it's common that people will say, well, you know, you're older, so you're jealous. You wish you had the man, and you're trying to come between Afi and her husband. So she was very much aware of these things.
Yeah. Thank you for that. San, can you hear us? I know you're driving. Unmute, or we can't hear you. Okay, maybe, let's see. There you go.
Can you hear me now? Okay, okay, I'm sorry. I had you muted. Tyler kind of asked my question because I kind of felt like Evelyn orchestrated everything. Kind of like, like she instigated everything. So that was my question. Was Evelyn and Mona friends? Because, you know, it's like she kept feeding information slyly to Effie, and so that was my question. And I just felt like Eli was a mama's boy. You know, I know women don't like to say that. It may be, like you said, cultural, but to me, I called him a mama's boy.
Well, I very much agree. And Ellie was very much his mother's favorite child. I'm sure you noticed. So that was like even more like extra mama's boy. So yes, but like Evelyn was not, and I feel bad because Evelyn is such a good person and I want people to think highly of her. She was not in any way scheming or trying.
I did not. I did not like Evelyn because I felt like she was, even though she was trying to avoid, you know, feeding information, I felt like she was feeding information, especially for the photo shoot, because it's just such a coincidence that they're at a place near where, you know, Eli or Ellie in his new home is.
Yeah.
And for her to run into her, you know, you know, the other woman.
Which is kind of the beauty of being able to write a book and like you lead us to this belief. But I am glad that you kind of cleared up that Evelyn was authentic in her intentions.
Yeah, because the whole time, every time I communicated with you, Tanya, you know, in the DM, I always say it's Evelyn. Evelyn is jealous. I believe she wants the life that Aphie has, but you know, I just felt like she was feeding the information to kind of, you know, get something started. But I'm glad you cleared up that she was a genuine person and that she meant no ill intent.
Yeah.
But San, wouldn't you want your friend to sort of lead you to the water so you can drink, to like let you know and say, hang on a minute, your husband is with this other woman. Look, see for yourself. I'm not going to say anything, but I'm going to put you in the light so you can see what's going on.
No, she needs to spill the tea.
Listen, as my friend, I want you to go ahead and be straightforward and just go ahead and tell me everything. Don't feed me bits and pieces, and because and let me deal with it how I deal with it. And then even as a married woman, I wouldn't even sit there and put Evelyn in the mix.
Okay, we might be losing you. I'm going to mute you for a bit.
I think that she was jealous because she was in the same condo as the side chick condo. So there was nothing to be jealous of.
Yeah. Great point.
Tanya, I have a question.
I'm gonna, Chelsea, let's go to Eartha, because you had your hand up, and then we'll come back, Ashley, Chelsea, because I want to make sure everybody gets a chance.
Hello, everyone.
Eartha, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello, everybody. I think that Ellen was a good friend. That would be something I would do. Sometimes I just tell you what you should do, but I like the way she led her. Everybody wants to make up their own mind. They don't want someone telling them what to do. So it helped her grow and be confident in herself when she went to him or her mother. But my question is about Auntie.
Good.
She's alone. She's not married. You don't say where her husband is or how she got her fortune.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So Auntie's husband died. So Ellie's father died when they were young, and she's a baker. So I talk about how they had a small business baking bread, and it's that business that all of the children, in fact, I mentioned how Ellie used to sell bread with his mother, and that was inspired by my grandmother baking bread, by the way. But I talk about the children used to help their mother selling bread, and it's that business that grows. But also there's a part of this this book, and I think it might stand out to some Ghanaians. A lot of their wealth also comes from their political connections. So Fred is the uncle who, is Ellie's brother, and he knows the first lady, he knows the president. And even though I don't say these things explicitly, I did want to imply them. And I think someone who knows Ghana really well would kind of get at what I was trying, or would have detected what I was trying to get at, in that they are using their political connections to make money.
Yeah.
Right. That is how they get the $1 million contract. And that is how there's this small family and they own properties all across Accra. They are using their political connections to make themselves wealthy. And they have parties and the first lady shows up. So the family did start off baking bread and their business grew, but they really become wealthy when they go into politics.
Yes. I guess it's no different than the city, you know, the mayor or city council.
And I will say, even in Ghana, it's much, much more acute how quickly that happens, because it's literally, you know, the first lady coming, she graces your party, and then the next day you get another contract somewhere else. Like, it's a very political driven cash society. So once you're in it, it's a skyrocket. But I think that was a big question. We all wanted to know what happened to the dad, and I think we missed that. Yeah.
I have a question. So I was pretty disappointed when Effie ended up pregnant, right? Because I thought, well, you know, she could have made a clean slate and just, you know, get free and break free without having to ever deal with him again. So I just kind of want to understand a little bit more about what went into your decision to have her get pregnant so quickly. And to also understand that had she not gotten pregnant so quickly, do you think things would have gotten so, well, would have gotten so close to Eli without having had his son?
So that's a great question. I think the pregnancy very much brought them together. It made him, and because all of a sudden this is a woman who's having his child, so he has to take her more seriously. But also she feels a stronger connection to him because of this child. But I brought in the pregnancy, and I really wanted to do this because of, once again, how much value is placed on having a child with a man. And people who are like, if I just have this baby, then I will be the one he would choose and he will love me. And Afi really feels this. And then she has a son, which is a big deal because his other child is a girl and she's sickly. And she's like, well, not only am I having a child, but it's a boy. And that is going to win the man. It's going to win me the man. And I just really wanted to show that, no, like, a man is not going to abandon his wife for you just because you've had a child. I mean, some of them might, but a lot of men will not do it. And in this case, what's his name? Ellie refuses to leave Muna, even though there's a child involved. So I just really wanted to dispel this notion that if you just have the baby, that will solve everything. Because in real life, it often doesn't solve the problem.
I love that. Yes. So true. So true. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. I want to be cognizant of your time piece. So let me know. It's 1 now. Maybe we could run over a little bit because there's a couple other questions that we have.
Yeah,
but,
I can definitely go for another 10 minutes.
Perfect. We'll take it. Thank you. You are very gracious. Venice just asked a question in the chat. She just messaged me, Venice Scott, and she said Abraham was mentioned twice. And for some reason, just those tiny little drops of mentioning Abraham, we all want to know why, because we just gravitated to him for some reason.
Yes. Thank you for catching that. So I should confess that the ending that you see in the book isn't what I had initially planned. But once again, I began writing, and as I'm writing, things change. I mean, the characters take on a life of their own and they do what they want, and I really can't control it. So I think initially I thought that Afi would leave Ellie and end up with Abraham. So that is why you see Abraham show up. And then as I was writing, I was like, nope, she's not going to end up with Abraham. She's going to stand on her own. She's not going to be rescued by a man or saved by a man. But I had already written Abraham into the story. And I kind of went back and forth. Should I just totally delete him from the book? Should I just leave him there? Anyway, I think my agent and I spoke about this quite a bit, even my editing, and then we decided to just leave him in the book. But he's there because I thought that in the end, Afi will end up with him.
Great question. Okay, does anyone, I know we saw Eartha.
I have a question.
Yep. Well, Chelsea, you've already asked a question.
Oh, okay.
I want to make sure Nikki gets to go and Nana, and then I'll come back because I want to make sure everyone gets a chance. Nikki, do you have a...
Yeah, so my question was, where did Muna think that Eli was all of those months that he was with Afi? And how did he get her to move out of the main house without her knowing something was going on?
Well, she knew. Muna knew there was something happening. Muna was aware that Ellie had gotten married, had this other woman. She was very much aware. She was aware that there was pressure on Ellie to leave her. She was very much aware of all of this. And she knew people. And if there's a part where Auntie talks about Muna getting people to spy on Ellie, to tell her where he goes and what he does. So even if he's lying, like, she knows people and she knows what's happening with Ellie and Afi. She's aware of this relationship.
Nana, do you have a question?
Yeah, I do.
Hi, Ajo. So I am actually Ghanaian, and I grew up and everything there, and then I came here to go to college. So I know a lot about the culture, but just a comment. What jumped at me was I was thinking that for Afi, I think when they brought her from the village and brought her to Accra, my assumption is that Ellie's family thought she was going to be the quiet girl because that's what's expected of you. And then, so that's why they probably didn't even pick somebody from Accra, because if she's a girl from Accra, she's probably going to be a lot more educated, a lot more kind of westernized. So she's probably going to be more outspoken, and she's probably going to be a lot more like Muna, right? Yeah. But then if she's from the, they go further inland, she's going to be a lot more cultural and quieter. So I think that was one of the reasons why his mom got so angry. But usually when the stories like this play out, it's usually the wife that's there, and then the side chick, you know that she has more power. So for me, this was really interesting that Muna was, I feel, was the wife because it was kind of legal, but then she really wasn't. So I think that was an interesting twist for me, and I just keep thinking about it. So what were you thinking about the same thing, that because they brought her from the village, they assumed she was going to be quieter, and then she surprised them by showing that she had a backbone?
Well, absolutely. In choosing Afi, Auntie makes it clear. She says you are respectful, right? She's beautiful and she's respectful. And in Ghana, respect means that you shut up and you follow the rules and you never, speak up for yourself. So respect, anyway, is a distorted idea of respect. But Afi has been chosen because she's respectful. And that is why Auntie does not like Evelyn, because Evelyn is disrespectful. Evelyn does what she wants. So yeah, there's no way that they would have selected a woman like Evelyn for Ellie. No way. Auntie wants a woman she can control. And that remains Auntie's problem with Muna. She's not able to control Muna. And Auntie wants to be able to control her daughters-in-law.
A question that came up in the chat, thanks Nana for that question, is we didn't get a chance to touch on Yaya, little small auntie. And I just want to know your thoughts with Yaya, and what if in your mind you have an alternate ending. Does Yaya end up married to somebody, or what happens with Yaya?
Yeah, interesting. So for some reason, I never thought of Yaya getting married. I just thought of her always being by her mother's side, and like eventually taking over from her mother once her mother passes away, and coordinating her brother's lives and pulling all of the strings like her mother. I don't think she'll have time to have her own relationship. She'll be too busy meddling in other people's lives and trying to control them like her mother did.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I think we thought as well. We've got a couple minutes. Anyone? Iris, you didn't get a chance to ask a question. Do you still have a question?
Yes, I just wanted to know if you could give any insight on any ideas of who you would like to see playing Ellie.
Oh, yes.
He sounds very handsome, so I'm just curious.
Yeah, so Ellie is handsome, but Ellie also has swagger. Like, he's really cool. And so I was discussing it with friends, and one of my friends like, it has to be Idris Elba.
Yep.
Like, Elba has so much swagger.
Right.
But then another friend of mine watched Bridgerton, and she was like, the guy who plays Lord Hastings, we should make him Ellie.
Right. Good choices.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm still thinking about it, but so far I'm thinking, who has that kind of swagger, who is just cool, who is just smooth, and everybody just admires him.
Right.
Yeah, so
I have an idea for who Afi should be.
Oh.
I think she should be, I think Jocelyn Dumas should play her. Because when you spoke about how fair she is of skin and how voluptuous she is, her body is like, she has the curves everywhere. So I was like, yeah, that's her that I pictured. So
yes, that is true. It's just gonna be so much fun. So, I thought about someone like Jocelyn Dumas, but then I was also having this conversation, and because we do have several like acting schools in Ghana, and my friend was saying maybe this is like you can establish the career of some new actress
Yes.
in Ghana, right? Like go to these acting schools and cast some unknown actress.
Yes.
And just give her this opportunity to show herself. So I mean, so basically now I'm thinking maybe there's some new person out there we don't even know about who could also do this.
Peace, that's a great question. And I'll just two things. Some of us wondered, I'll ask sort of two questions in summary. Can you tell us what you're working on next? And the second question, again, a lot of us read this on the Audible, and we really wanted a Ghanaian narrator to read it. And when we sort of did our research, we found she was born in Africa, but I think she was South Asian descent. So maybe, I'm not sure, but did you play a process in picking who gets to actually narrate the book?
I did. I did. And Sonila she's actually half Ghanaian.
Okay. Oh, that makes more sense.
She's Ghanaian, and I did very much enjoy her reading. I think there were two options where the person could have spoken with I don't know if there's something like a Ghanaian accent, but like a very kind of well-recognized Ghanaian accent. But I was also open to someone who didn't have a Ghanaian accent reading it. But I've toyed with the idea that with my next book, I might actually try reading the audio.
Yes.
So yes, but I very much like the narration. But I think I might just experiment and try. I don't know if I'll be good at it, but I will.
I think we are of all consensus. You would be great. Your diction is perfect. I would just listen like this all the time.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And the second question was what I'm working on. I finished the second book, and it's currently being edited.
Is it a sequel? It's a direct sequel?
Oh no. It's completely different. It's partly set in Ghana and in the US. It's about two cousins. It's about female friendship.
Ooh.
And I'm working on the third book, which I will admit is pure romance, because I love love. I love romance. And I'm like, I read a lot of Harlequin romances and Mills and Bones as a teenager. So I'm just going back to all out romance and lust in the third book. I'm having a lot of fun doing it.
Good. Well, any last group? Have we answered all of our burning questions?
I just have
I have a quick question.
Okay, this is what I'm going to do because we've got about 3 minutes. Ask the 3 people who have their questions, like literally give me a blah, 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 2-second question. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and then Peace can answer them. So Chelsea, fire your question.
I just want to know if Muna was actually ugly, would Afi have tried a little bit harder?
Okay, hold on. Pause. Alicia, your question. Unmute. We can't hear you.
Okay. Is Muna considered his only wife?
Okay. And then the last person who had a question.
Anita.
Where are you, Anita?
Hi.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Did you have any ideas for any alternate endings?
Okay. Perfect.
I will start with the last one. Yes, the alternate ending. In fact, I considered Afi staying with Ellie. I considered Afi, like I said, leaving Ellie and ending up with Abraham. I did play around with a lot of endings. But at the end of the day, I think the character grew to such a stage that they were able to tell me what they wanted. So I tried not to impose my own ending. I let the character naturally progress towards their own ending. Yes, Muna is definitely his only wife at the end of the day. She doesn't have the ring, but she's the one who ends up with the man. So I feel like she's his wife. And Afi, even at the end, we know that Afi is still longing to be his only wife. She's obviously still in love with him. Yes. And if Muna had been ugly, would Afi I don't entirely understand that question.
Because she was hoping that that she was ugly, like everything that everyone was talking about. When she saw her, she kind of put her head down, like, dang, I see why he loves her. Like, she kind of gave up.
Yeah, I definitely think that just seeing the woman was like, oh my God, is this the person I'm competing with?
Yeah.
This woman is gorgeous. And I think that definitely kind of hit Afi really hard. But I think more than that is the recognition that he loved her. He loved her so much that he was taking her son, Afi's son, to meet Mona, but not bringing Mona's daughter to the house. And
That was heartbreaking.
Yeah, that was such a betrayal. Yes.
Oh my goodness. Well, Peace, we thank you so much for your time. I know it's a time hop for you. You guys can unmute because I want you to hear the applause that we have for you. Great book. It was so wonderful. We are so grateful that we got to go and immerse ourselves in Ghana and Accra, and it's such a great book, and we cannot wait to see what you have next. And you are incredible, and we thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yes.
Thank
We're
you
here
so much.
You don't have to leave, but we're just here chatting.
It's been awesome. I've had so much fun. Enjoy the rest of the conversation.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Looking forward to the novel.
I'm looking forward to the movie.
Oh, yes.
What's so great is like all our authors are so different and you fall in love with them.
I know, right?
Like but they're so different. I mean, she's scholarly, she writes about, she teaches about domestic violence, but that piece where she said, I needed to write this fiction book and not put any violence in it.
Yeah.
Just small things like that you're like, oh, I get it. This is her job. This is her this, but it's just beautiful. Like the way that you get a perspective like that from the audience.
A lot of thought went into her writing. Yeah.
Thank you for doing this, Tanya. I've never had this type of opportunity to actually ask an author, the burning questions. So thank you for doing this. This is wonderful.
Tanya, thank you.
How she said to let the character.
Thank you, Tanya.
You guys are so sweet.
Thank you.
I love how she said she let the characters lead her to the ending. That was perfect. I love that.
I really look forward to hearing her narrate her book because Michelle Obama narrating her book was everything.
Yeah. I think she would be great. But it's also, you also get to meet these people and they're so human at the end of the day. I'm sure she was sitting there going like, I can't narrate my own book. Nobody wants to hear my voice, And that's what's so nice about actually just getting to ask, people questions because their human side comes out in such a way that you're like, oh, okay, but she was
I'm
so
just
wonderful.
sad. I thought she did a great job. I think she really answered all of our questions.
Yes.
She really kind of like, I feel like she just kind of just made us feel so comfortable and just, gave us so much information that we otherwise wouldn't really either missed or didn't pay attention to. But I really loved her personality shine through.
Me too.
That's my neighbor. That's my neighbor.
Who said that?
Me, Alicia, be like, that's my neighbor, because I think our only apprehension with who she used as the audible is because she sounded so much like our last book.
Well, she sounded like a British Indian woman, maybe.
That was our only thing about it is that she sounds so similar. But
I think that there were certain, there were times, whoops. Okay, just go to Emily.
So I will also say little things that I like the Abraham piece.
Yes.
Where she, in her mind, said, like, I've mentioned Abraham, and we all picked up on that. We were like, why is this guy coming up again?
And I wanted Effie to get with Abraham. I really did want her to like link up with him. It didn't go.
Because he seemed generally interested in her.
When you heard her response where she said, no, this girl has come too far from her little village to have another, because imagine, to have another man come in and save her.
Yeah.
I loved that. I
Mhm.
loved that she said that and spelled it out to us, because ideally, you know, we would think, okay, well, here's this fairy tale ending. And she's too much of, I mean, I almost wanted to be like, do you think Afi is a feminist? But, you know, she did it herself. And I appreciate her saying that.
So Tanya, can you hurry up and pick the next book, because this was so fun. I'm just waiting.
Tanya, can I say something? Can I say something quickly?
Just yet. We have questions.
I don't have I will tell you right now, I do not have the next books to announce to you yet.
Oh, man.
But we will wait. It'll probably be another week-ish, but you guys, I will let you know ASAP. And it'll be the same type of thing. But I'm really, so what's interesting is I feel like I've had a lot. I want to do something a bit different.
Yes. Yes.
Might have to
mute.
Somebody mute whoever got a background noise. Okay, cool. So
Can I say something? Can I say something?
Yes.
Tanya, I just want to say how, you know, this book club, you know, is a very good opportunity for the writer to have a very big platform, because I'm in the UK, because I'm Ghanaian, and the only reason why I started following you, I used to follow you when you were in the warehouse of Atlanta. But when I saw the book and it was from my country, I said, wow, this is a very, you know, a very big platform for the writer to have an opportunity, you know, because you don't know how much people are watching this. And
That's
right. How proud I am to be a Ghanaian.
Me too. I mean, this was such a joy
I couldn't
for
dress
me.
up because I'm at work. I'm also a nurse. So I couldn't, I'm working, but I was still listening.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's really nice to hear. And it was honestly, I'm telling you guys, this has been a treat. And I love hearing you guys go, oh, I love book club and stuff. So we're still here, we're going strong and we're growing. And I think like, I go back and forth between, do I just keep it on Instagram? Because I love the Zooms when we actually get to see each other.
I do too.
Yeah.
And then there's a part of me that's like, geesh, there's all these other platforms like Clubhouse or this, but we're just going to grow and keep going. And yeah.
You know, Tanya, I think you definitely have the magic touch, because so many of our books are moving to series now. Like, you really have the magic touch for picking.
But I'm not doing that intentionally, but some of them are like, and so I will say, like, I try not to do, one of the things I want to be very thoughtful about moving forward is, for example, her book was already in the Reese Witherspoon's book club, but I just could not stay away from it. And so I also want to find other authors that are emerging authors so I can amplify those voices, because it is so hard to break into publishing. Like, I have friends who are trying to write books, and the answer they get, and they have like these great books, is like, well, what's your social media following? Because if you don't have XYZ on social media, who's going to buy your book? And I don't think that's fair, because they've written these amazing stories. So, but I just think like the stories we pick are really fun and exciting, and they'll go far anyways.
Actually meeting her on this in this platform, and knowing how accomplished she has been, to know that this book it kind of seemed like writing is like her side gig. That in and of itself is awesome, because this was so enjoyable. It shows that she's such a great talent in addition to all of the other things she's doing. Yeah.
It's kind of like Stacey Abrams.
Yeah.
Like Stacey Abrams is who she is, and then to find out that she wrote fiction.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say that I published my first book this December. It is available on Amazon, or you can find me on Instagram and buy my book, because I just published it and I got my first copy yesterday.
Well, congratulations.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
What was the
Put the
title?
name of the book in the comments.
It's called Life de Regard, and you can get it on Instagram, or like if you follow me on Instagram, or you can go to Amazon. It's on Amazon.
Can you put it in the comments?
Yeah.
Can you put it in the comments?
I will.
And, you know, like, I think that's, you know, such a beautiful thing. And so I'm trying to also figure out how we can have more connections. So if you guys are writing books, you know, because this is a great place for you to share it and you're around people who like to read, like this is what we do for fun. So just trying to,
Tanya,
yeah.
can I say something?
Yeah.
I only have one issue with the book club.